Well, Happy New Year, guys. I know I was supposed to say Merry Christmas, but I didn't get here in time, so I'm saying Happy New Year. Welcome to another video from the Hidden Woman Within. If this is your first time, welcome in. If you're returning, welcome back. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know when I upload a video. So hope everybody's doing well. Hope you had pleasant holidays with you and your family and that you kept the main thing for the holiday. So we're in 2024, and so we are moving forward. So as you could tell by my topic is how long are you going to let this go on? So I want to share something. You probably heard, if you've been following me, you've probably heard me give some of these examples in some previous videos. But if you haven't, and it's your first time hearing it, well, here we go. So when I was growing up, in that time, the kids were to be seen and not heard. So, and they didn't do all this sitting up in the house playing games and on the phone. This is a different time. So back then, it was outside into the fresh air. And the games that we played were, hide and seek and kickball and tag and all those physical activities that these kids nowadays don't do. So, some of the things that we did when we stayed outside, like my grandmother, like my mom, she was a nurse and she was gone like all the time. When she wasn't, she would sleep. And sometimes she'd go out. So we lived right next door to my grandmother. And so my mother went to work and it was time for us to get up and get out. My grandmother came up to the house and made sure that we got up, got dressed, had something to eat, and outside we went. Literally, we were outside all day. After breakfast, we were outside. We had an outhouse, telling my age, but I don't care. So there was no need to go back into the house for anything, like nothing. And sometimes we just kind of sneak back in the house and watch TV. She'd come up there with that switch. Get on out here. This house is going outside and play. So we had to go back outside. Excuse me. So there was a picnic bench that was in front of my grandmother's house. It was an open, we was on a lot of land. And this picnic bench, we would sit out there and we'd eat lunch, sit out there and talk about everybody because we didn't like the grown-ups because they made us sit outside and do all kind of crazy stuff. So when it came lunchtime, my grandmother would make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We had no meat. It was peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That was it. And she would make the sandwiches and we'd have Kool-Aid or water. And she'd call us to the door. We'd get our little paper plate with our sandwich on it and our cup of whatever we were going to drink. And we went back to the table and we ate. If my grandfather happened to come home early, he'd go into the garden and he would get a watermelon and cut it up, put it on the table, and there we eat the watermelon. To this day, I do not like watermelon. And we would eat this watermelon, had seeds in it, which was a good thing compared to what we're doing now. Had seeds in it. I remember eating the watermelon, juice running down my arms, flies swarming around. I hated it. So that made me not like watermelon. I don't even like the texture of watermelon touching my teeth. Now, I drink watermelon juice, but I won't eat the watermelon itself. Peanut butter and jelly. That's what we had. And I remember one of my uncles used to get in a can, and it was nasty. So it wasn't like this creamy, skippy peanut butter that we have nowadays. And if they did have it back then, we didn't get any of it. But I don't like the watermelon, but I still like peanut butter. Sometimes I'll just get a jar of peanut butter, get a spoon, and just eat the peanut butter because I like it. So what am I saying? There are things that have happened in my childhood, your childhood, that affect the way that we live today. Now, not necessarily just in our childhood, just in our lives in general, things that have happened that cause us to do things differently. So, but me not eating watermelon doesn't harm anybody. It doesn't harm me, doesn't harm you, doesn't harm anybody I'm related to. Me enjoying my peanut butter isn't beneficial to anybody but me because I enjoy eating my peanut butter. But there's other things that have happened in my life um, as I'm aging that have also altered the way that I live and do things. So, but the one that I want to talk about now is those things that have traumatized a lot of people from childhood up until now. And those things are sometimes in some people's lives ongoing. And it again alters their lifestyle, alters the way that they talk, the way that they do things, the way that they treat people. All of those things come into play because we're dealing with the issues that some of us don't even know that we're dealing with. So, as another example, like I watched this show, and this woman had this big house, and her neighbors were complaining that she had too many cars in the yard and there was just too much junk in the yard. And so the city got involved and they wanted to start fining her for every day that stuff sat in her yard. She had like 3 Mercedes Benz in her driveway that did not work. And then she had 2 vehicles that she used. She had a trailer like the rigs have when they're driving, a big old 52-foot trailer full of kitchen cabinets and things that she wanted to put in this house. The house was, if you lit a match, it was gone. And basically it was a hoarding situation. And whenever you get into those types of situations, there's a root cause. People don't clutter their house up with stuff just because they like things. There's a reason behind that. So as I continue to watch, and before they even got to the point, I said, oh, I already see what happened. And, I had compassion, but at the same time, I'm like, but you can't continue to live like that, mama. I'm talking to her like she can hear me, right? So it went on to come to find out that she was married, and her and her husband used to go buy out stores and stuff and then bring the stuff home and then resell it. Oddly enough, that's actually what my husband and I used to do. And when his job would kind of get in the way of that, I had a friend, she and I used to buy storage units and we would go through them. She liked to go through their clothes and stuff. I'm like, I'm just looking for furniture that I can reupholster or fix up and resell it. And that's what we were doing for a while. And but I outgrew that because she had heart surgery and couldn't do all the heavy lifting. And I was like, that's a little bit too much for me. So I had to let that go. So anyway, her and her husband, that's what they used to do. And they were in this one particular store. And the woman said she heard an announcement, said, if you have things in your cart that you want to purchase, bring them to the front now. The store is closing. We have someone who has bought out the store. So come to find out, she didn't even know it was her husband. So everything that was in the store now got brought to their house, to the point that he started adding on to the house to contain the stuff. There were bins of, there was like those metal shelves with rubber totes on them full with stuff. And the garage was full. And then from the outside, it looked like a little mansion because they were showing that where they were adding stuff. They had money because they had the 3 Mercedes Benz sitting in the driveway that had been sitting there that weren't working. So anyway, when everything was said and done, her family called in some intervention into wanting her to get this house cleaned up. So her mom, who was 90, her sister, her aunt, and her daughter came. And at one point I got so upset with them because I could see that this woman was not wanting to let any of this stuff go because it was like holding on to her husband who had died 8 years previous to whatever that filming was. And he had a room downstairs and all his stuff was still in that room like he still lived there. His clothes, she hadn't gotten rid of anything. She didn't know how to let go. And at one point, when the psychologist was talking to her and trying to get her to understand that, we're concerned about your safety and, we need to get this out of here, she broke down and she just cried and she said, why did he have to leave me? Why did he have to leave me? Well, he didn't leave her. He died. He had a massive stroke and he died. But that traumatized her. And so any and everything that was related to Julius, she didn't want to get rid of it. His clothes, the thing that they used to do together, which was buy and sell. But the problem was she was buying. Now she's kind of broke, but she's not selling anything. But she didn't want to let anything go. And then the other issue that she had was she felt like, I paid a lot of money for this. I'm not letting that go for that. She had a truck that was out there for, I don't know how long, but it was ready for the dump, for the salvage place. And she says, oh, if I can't get $1,000 for that, I'm not getting, she said, it would kill me to get rid of that. Everything that the psychologist said that she needed to get rid of, she was like, no, I paid $1,500 for that. It would kill me to get rid of that. So she was tied up in a lot of stuff. I'm saying all that to say, the thing that traumatized her now led her to the way that she is living, which is not normal. It's not normal to just have a pathway to your bed. You've got stuff stacked up to the ceiling in your room because you're afraid of letting go. She's trying to hold on. She's trying to control what she didn't have control of before. She didn't have control over her husband dying. So now she's like, but I'm going to get control over this. Nothing else is, I'm not letting go of anything else. I got this. But that wasn't working for her. But toward the end, and the part about when her mom and them, she broke down and was like, you need to let that stuff go. This is garbage. And they went on and on. Boy, I got so mad. I was like, and she's crying. And it's like they had no compassion for what she was dealing with. So I had to get a hold of myself because I was getting pissed at them. I was like, you need to shut up. You don't even. So it reminds me of my cousin Melissa many years ago. She'd watch TV and watch the soap operas. My mom used to take care of me. She'd be fussing at the TV. And if somebody came and she said, turn around. He's right behind you. He's So that kind of reminded me of my cousin Melissa when I was kind of fussing at them for the way, they were all at one time standing around her. This is rotten. Come on, you need to let this go. And they were just going on. And I was like, oh my word. And so that part passed and she was standing there and I just felt so bad for her. Even though what they were saying was absolute truth. This stuff is garbage. Let it go. But they didn't understand the connection between that stuff and Julius, her late husband. So because they didn't get it, that's why they could act the way that they did. Of course, it wasn't their stuff. And a part of me said, well, it ain't none of your business anyway. It ain't for you to tell her what she need to get rid of. That's her stuff. And at the end of the day, she has to be willing to get rid of it. Not get rid of it because you say it's what she should do. Because once she's willing, to me, then that starts a healing process for her that she begins to realize, you know what, this is right. I don't need this stuff anymore. I don't need it. It's here. It's causing a health issue in my home, and I just need to get rid of it. And then she could deal with the grieving because obviously she never grieved for her husband passing away. Okay, so that was a bit lengthy, example, but a lot of us are dealing with similar things. And what we begin to do is, as another example, I've got lots of stories. If you're going through, or if you have, as an example, let's say divorce. Let's just say that you have had a man or a woman that went through a divorce. And it wasn't, very pleasant. And so they go their separate ways. Excuse me. Most times you will hear that female bad-mouthing that husband as being the reason why they're not together. And you will also hear that husband bad-mouthing the reasons why they're not together. Well, let me say this first of all. Marriage is work. It's And it's not natural and supernatural, but there's a part to be played on both parties. And if you're not willing to do that, then yeah, it's not going to work. Um, so let's say that happens, and then some, they go their separate ways, and everything has been resolved and over with. And then you have a conversation. Now, maybe one of her friends is dealing with a divorce. Well, any advice that you're going to get from the woman that just went through the divorce is not going to be good advice. She going to tell you, oh, well, he ain't no good. Well, I wouldn't stay married to him. He ain't no good. Why? She's speaking out of her hurt. She's speaking out of her hurt. So the advice that she's giving you is not going to come from a place of trying to help you navigate through your situation. She's giving you what she would do because she's now divorced. Men will do the same thing. I have a coworker who, I was at work one day, and she came by. I was working at the jewelry counter, and she was looking at this set that kind of looks like a bridal set. And she said, Charlotte, let me see this ring down here. And I said, okay. So I pull it out. I said, oh, that's pretty. She said, yeah, I'm looking for one for my sister. I said, oh, I don't know if I asked, was she getting married or, I said something to her. She said, in her response, no, she's not getting married. She's actually divorced. But I couldn't understand, well, she's divorced, but she wants to wear like a wedding looking set on her finger to look like she was married, I guess. I don't know. And so I said, is she getting married? And she said, oh, no. She said, no, she's divorced. She said, she's never getting married again. I said, oh. She said, yeah, and so she went on to tell me he cheated on her. He did this and he did it. He he did everything. She didn't say nothing about what her sister did or didn't do. But my attitude was, okay, so I didn't get into no deep conversation about that. But my attitude was this. So in other words, your sister don't want to get married again because of what she says her first husband did. And she's assuming that if she got married, that the next husband would do the same thing. And I'm like, well, would you be marrying the same guy? If the answer is no, then why does this guy have to pay for stuff that guy did? But we don't realize that's what we do. That's what we do. That's what I did. And so now I'm going to tell you my story. So I was a single mom for 16 years and I got married. And, my husband, and I call him my husband because we was married at the time. And I'm going to refer to him as my husband. That's just the way I'm going to do it. Even though we were divorced. And so after being a single mom for 16 years, I had what I call SMA, single mom's attitude. I don't need you. I got this. Who you think was doing this before you got here? I don't need you. I didn't come out and say any of those things, but my actions spoke for me. And let me be the first to tell you, I'm going to always tell on me. I don't need anybody to, oh, well, she did. I'll tell you about me in a minute. Why? Because I've dealt with Charlotte. And I've been dealing with Charlotte. So because of the pain that I went through in those previous 2 relationships, my husband now was paying for that. And he had nothing to do with it. And so I have 4 children. My first 3 children came from an abusive relationship that I was with their dad for 6 years. And I was like, if I don't get out, one of us is going to die. And it ain't going to be me. And I didn't want to spend my life in prison, have somebody else raising my children because I killed a man. So it was just easier for us to just go our separate ways. It wasn't an easy separation, but we did it. Then my youngest son's dad it wasn't a physically abusive relationship. It was an emotional abusive relationship. And so that was the end of that. So there I have 2 relationships that were where I had children. And then now I'm in another relationship where he doesn't have any children. And so that was one thing that I prayed for. I said, Lord, I do not want to marry a man with kids because I went through something with mama drama with my youngest son's dad. The ex-girlfriend was calling my house 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it was just bad. And I was like, I'm not dealing with that. And so when I was asking the Lord about a husband, I had a little list. You know how we do. Oh, he got to be this tall and he got to drive this. Moving away from that. um, I wanted to make sure that he didn't have any kids. So he didn't have any children. It was kind of unusual for a black man to be in his 30s and not have any children. But he didn't have any children and he was not married previously. So anyway, we got married. No marriage counseling. We just got married. The problem was we both knew that we were supposed to be married. What we didn't know was about God's timing. What we didn't know was we needed counseling. And what we didn't know how to do was really love each other. We were in this emotional thing. Well, love ain't really got nothing to do with how you feel. Another topic. So anyway, basically, he paid for the stuff that I went through in my previous relationships. He didn't know it at the time, but then one day, this man got so stinking mad, and we were married for 26 years. I had never seen him, and if anybody watching that knows me and knew him, you knew he was quiet, he was calm, but you only saw him on the outside. You didn't live with him. I did, so you only know what you know. But I saw that man mad one time. It scared the crap out of me. I was like, oh. I saw him mad, and what he said to me was, I'm sick and tired of paying for what them other brothers did to you. You making me pay for what they did. That ain't what he said, but that's what he said. And it kind of jilted me for a while. I was quiet as a church mouse for a while. Never the threat that he would physically hit me or anything like that. It wasn't like that. It's just that, whoa, I've never seen him like that. I've never had anybody talk to me like that, you know? And so, and then on the other side of that, I was paying for what he had gone through because he was engaged, 2 years prior to us getting together. As a matter of fact, I was waiting for my invitation for the wedding, which I never got. Well, he went through some stuff. And I was paying for that. So, at the end of the day, we divorced after 26 years because we refused to kind of get it together. Why? We were selfish. I want things my way. He wants things the way. You don't do this and you don't do that. You always do. That's how we went. And I was like, wow. So after the divorce, it took me 3 years. I know this isn't about marriage, but I'm just telling you how we deal with stuff that has traumatized us, and then we take it out on other people. So 3 years after the divorce, within those first, I couldn't even talk to him on the phone. Most of the times it was, whatever we were dealing with, we dealt with through text messages, and it was, we didn't have any children together, so it was just other stuff, and it was, not like all the time. Toward the end, we talked like we were old friends, which I loved. But it took me 3 years to be able to physically talk to him on the phone, And I only saw him one time, and that was when my son got married. And I was surprised at my own response to him. But the point that I'm trying to make is I couldn't talk to him because I was still hurt. I was still angry. And I remember him asking me one day, why do you keep yelling at me? I don't know, doggone, you make me sick. I didn't realize I was yelling at him. So I was still hurting. But 3 years, it took me 3 years. It probably didn't have to take that long, but it did. 3 years to finally get to be healed from that, to the point that we could talk on the phone like old friends. We talk about, you laugh and talk like it was all good. And this went on for, we were the divorce. I think last year would have been like 9 years, or this year would have been like 9 years or something like that. So after that, we had a good relationship. I saw him at my son's wedding, and he came up and I hugged him. How you doing? How's your mom? Blah, blah, blah. Just like everything is good. We talked on the phone after that. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks before he passed away, he was talking to me, and he wanted to come back to Texas, but he wasn't a good communicator, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth. If you want to come back here and try to work something out, you're going to have to open your mouth and say that. But I got healed from that situation. How did I know I was healed from it? Because I could talk to him and we could talk to each other. We both were okay. But you get people that divorce now, I don't have nothing to do with him or she still. And I'm like, why? Because you ain't dealt with you. If you still talking about that man like everything was his fault, you have not dealt with you. If you still talking about that woman like everything was her fault, then you haven't dealt with you. Yes, I'm saying, I'm bold enough to tell you, because, when people are going through stuff, you only hear their side of the story. Like I'm sitting here telling you about me, but I'm telling you about me and him. And I'm not throwing him under the bus. I'm telling you, I am sharing the responsibility. I'm not blaming anybody. There's responsibility that we all have to take. You have to take responsibility for everything you say and everything you do, because we're going to have to give an account for it one day. So again, what we're doing is treating other people from sometimes our past experiences. And, you get advice, again, you getting advice from somebody that's been through something. They're not giving, if they're not pouring into you to lift you up, why would you take their advice? I remember shortly after I got married, my mother-in-law, who in the beginning, I didn't care for her. I mean, I was a baby Christian when I got married, and I didn't care for my mother-in-law. In my opinion, she kind of had her nose up and looking down her nose at me and my kids, and I kind of had issue with that. And she said to me, but I got healed from all that. She said to me, she was trying to give me some marriage advice. And I don't know how fast it came out of my mouth, but I was kind of surprised because I don't talk to people like that. And she was telling me something. I said, well, how is somebody that's not married going to give somebody that is married advice? And when I said that, her next response was, well, it wasn't my fault. It was Bob's fault. That was her husband's name. Well, she was married to him until the day he died, but she put him out shortly after they got married because she was trying to control everything. I found that out because that's what was told to me. So I now know that if she hadn't made that second statement about it being his fault, she probably could have given me some advice. I say that from where I sit now because, trust me, I can do some marriage counseling. Why? Been there, done that. And some of the stuff that I see and hear, yes, I have something to say to somebody that's married, and I have something to say to somebody that's single. I mean, I can sit and we could talk. We could talk. Because a lot of the stuff that I hear these women, even married women, this is a little long, but I'm going with it. Another one of my coworkers was upset because her husband didn't get her anything for Christmas. Nothing. She had one gift under the tree, and that's the gift that she bought for herself. And when I tell you she was fit to be tied, she was fit to be tied. She wasn't keeping the main thing, but then again, she ain't no Christian. So she told me that she takes advice from another coworker who's been married longer than she has. Ain't neither one of them no Christians. And so she says, yeah, because, me and her was talking. I said, yeah, I went through divorce and I filed for divorce. So the way she said it was pretty much like, in a way, or since you might have been married longer than me, but you divorced, so you can't tell me nothing. So I didn't say nothing. I just listened to what she said. But in this situation, she told her friend about it. And her friend said, well, I wouldn't buy him nothing either. I wouldn't get him nothing for Christmas either. And I was like, But I didn't indulge in that conversation. I let them have the conversation because prior to that, I had said to her, she was telling me about it and I was waiting on a customer. And she was telling me about it. So she didn't have 100% of my attention. And so she just ran the rave. She said, well, I'm not going to, Lisa told me I'd get him nothing. I said, right. And then as I finished as I was finishing up with my customer, I said to her, wait, no. Let me speak from my heart. I said, that's not right. That's not right. I said, you don't treat him the same way he treated you. If anything, I would go out and make sure I got him something. I would just make sure that I got him something, because she didn't buy him nothing for Christmas because she didn't get nothing. So again, wrong. So she said, yeah, you're right, because then I stooped to his level, and I'm like, you're talking about this your husband you're talking about. Much of she's stooping to his level. So anyway, we had that conversation first, and then she was having a conversation again with another coworker in front of me about the same thing. And I said to myself, well, I thought you was all good with that. She was like, I'm buying him. That's not the way you do that. That is not, you don't treat people mean because they treat you mean. That's not how you do that. There's enough mean people in this world already without us contributing to it. And sometimes they don't mean to be that way on purpose. Some of them do. But because they don't understand that they're being played by demonic forces. They're being suppressed, oppressed by that. So anyway, the big thing about this is that we can't throw our issues up on other people through our actions. We need to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. So how long are we going to continue to deal with these issues and respond to people through that? What we now have to do is stop and take a look at ourselves and ask yourself, what am I dealing with that's causing me not to walk in love like I'm supposed to? I mean, all the time. I'm not telling you, I tell you all the time, I am not there. I had a situation here last week where this woman came up to the register and I waited on her, and she had a cute little outfit, little jean jacket, but the jacket was by itself and the other outfit was by itself. And she told me they went together. And I said, well, this is saying 2-piece. So she didn't say that to me. She said to her daughter, go get another one. So while the daughter's going to check to bring that outfit back, I checked with, a supervisor and said to her, hey, she said, this is a match, but it doesn't have a ticket on. It's not saying that this goes with this. And so she looked, she said, yeah, it don't match. And then she looked a little further, and there's a ticket on the inside, a tag that's sewn in that has numbers on it to tell you whether they go with it or not. So we got it. She says, yes, it matches. So I said, okay. So I go back to the customer and I say to her, yes, ma'am. She says, well, I wasn't lying. And I said, I didn't say that you were lying, but I still had to make sure that these items went together. And then I could feel my flesh coming up. And that's all I said to her. I didn't say, well, I just said, well, ma'am, I didn't say that you were. I'm just saying that I had to make sure that this was a part of a set. That's my job. So she didn't say nothing else to me. I didn't say nothing else to her. And so she didn't really want, I could tell she had attitude. And I could feel my flesh rising up. So I started humming. I couldn't even look at it. I don't even know what I was humming. And, but I just started humming. And then I looked, and I could feel her looking at me, trying to figure out, what is she doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to make sure that I don't step out of character and treat you like you treating me. I'm not going to do that. So that has kind of been my coping mechanism when it comes down to, because I work retail. If you know anything about retail, trust me, you better have some kind of coping mechanism in place about walking in love, because people are people. And I'm going to leave that right there. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to tell my coworkers when they get upset. And I said, well, I think I know the thing that helps me get through this is like, when they start fussing, they don't know me. They are fussing at me because I'm in their presence at the time. They got other stuff going. They got bigger fish to fry than me. They haven't been dealing with themselves. So their issues are being projected on me without them knowing it and without you knowing it. So don't take them fussing at you about some stuff personal. I don't. And it works for me. And if you find something that works, make it work for you. So when people get under your skin, or, they rub you the wrong way, how are you going to respond? Are you going to think maybe that person is going through something and they're just lashing out, but it's not about me. I'm going to tell you one more quick story and then I'm done here. I worked at Marshall's in Houston when I first came, and I was working as customer service supervisor, a customer service coordinator, and the lines were everywhere, everywhere, and for returns and exchanges and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, I know that this was God. I know that it was, and you couldn't pay me to believe it. I happened to, for whatever reason, I just looked toward the door, and I saw this woman come in, and from the distance, she had a ball cap on, and there was no hair, and it looked like it was like clean. So it wasn't like shaved; it was clean, like it fell out. I didn't pay nothing else, no attention to it. A short period of time had passed. I don't know how much time passed, but like I said, we had lines everywhere. Excuse me. And then it was all of a sudden, it almost felt like I was in a building by myself. I didn't see nobody. And then the lines are gone, and the other cashiers are, I don't even know where they were. It literally, I felt like I was just in the building by myself, the way this thing was playing out. That woman that I saw come in the door, excuse me, the woman that I saw come in the door came up to my register, and she had an armful of clothes, and she just plopped them on the counter. And I looked at her, I said, "You returning these?" And she says, "No, I'm purchasing." I said, "Oh, this is for returns. You have to go down to the cashier." And honey, when I said that, girlfriend lit into me like nobody's business. And all I could do was just look at her. Literally, I tell you that this was a divine appointment for me. And the reason I say that is because I couldn't speak. There was no thought that came into my head to say anything. Nothing. I just can't. I'm like, it was an appointment that whatever. It was just a supernatural thing for me, because normally I could think of something I could say, but I won't say it. But nothing came up. It was almost like my tongue was just glued to the roof of my mouth. My lips were sealed shut, because, and I didn't, most people say, well, there's a lot of people that would have reacted a different way, but that's not what I was supposed to do that day. And so me not saying anything, she picked up her stuff. She didn't get 3 to 4 feet away from me. She turned, looked at me and apologized. She said, "You didn't deserve that." And then she went on. And I felt bad because it was obvious that she was dealing with cancer. She had no brow. There was no hair. So obviously she was dealing with cancer. And that was just something at that moment that she dealt with, So anyway, she lashed out at me because of an issue that she had. I didn't take it personally. And the reason I can still talk about it today is because I remember that. When things happen, there's a lot of things, as I tell you, the Hidden Woman is about my story, about my life, things that I've gone through, the lessons that I've learned, things that I'm still learning and still doing. And so we just have to do better. But how long are we going to allow those things, those issues that we have, to control the way we walk, the way we talk, the way we live, the things that we do? It's time for a change, and the change has to begin within, because the real you, the woman that God created you to be, is wanting to live her best life. But she can't do that if all this stuff is covered up and you've got all these layers of stuff that keep pressing her down or him down, the real you. And then, you've got to begin to peel back the hurt, but you got to first find out what it is. And I'm not saying that you got to, start digging into your past. I'm like, trust me, I didn't have to start digging into my past. I prayed and I asked the Lord to show me some things. And he will do that if you will take the time to ask him. Show me, Lord, what it is that I need to deal with. Show me. And he will. I lied. I got another story. I promise you this is the last one. This is the last one. 9 years ago now. It would be 9 years in July. Yeah, because last year was 8 years, new beginning. Had a situation when I was going when I was when my husband left. I got a phone call from somebody, and I was shocked at the conversation, and the conversation hurt me. It hurt me because I expected differently from this person, but it didn't come out that way. So after I got off the phone with that individual, I actually deleted that number out of my phone because that's how hurt I was. I was like, I expected differently from her. Yeah, so now you know it's a woman. And so time went on, didn't think about it again, just left it alone, out of sight, out of mind. We live in two different states. So one Sunday, my pastor is teaching about forgiveness. Not the first time, and ain't the last time, but this particular Sunday, it resonated with me. And so I went home, and within the next few days, I was like, Lord, I'm your daughter, and my desire is to walk upright before you, to do what you would have me to do. Your will be done in my life, not my own. I've been bought with a price. I don't own me. You do. So if there's something or someone in my life that I haven't dealt with, haven't forgiven, show that to me, because I don't want to be, wearing this mask like I'm all good and having this animosity or having these issues that I don't know about and nobody else seems to know about, but for some reason I'm acting out of that. And, he didn't say a word. And literally about 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. And I look at the number and it said verified, which means I had talked to somebody on the other end of this phone before. But this sense came that I knew who it was. And I said, I know that's not so-and-so, but I think that's so-and-so. So didn't answer it. Message went to voicemail. Then I listened to the message, and it was exactly who I thought it was. Wishing me a happy birthday. Hope all is well. I know I haven't talked to you in a long time. Here's my number. Call me when you get a chance. Love you. Blah, 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 blah. I said, And then I remembered. I asked the Lord to show me, and he did. Now, it took me 6 months to get myself together to make this call because I had to ask for forgiveness. Now, I was asking for forgiveness because of what I was feeling in my heart. She was the one that wronged me, but I was holding on to the hurt. So it wasn't her, it was me. And I'm only responsible for how I treat people. I'm not responsible for how people treat me. I have learned that. I have learned that. And do I trip up once in a while? Yes, because I might act a certain way or turn my shoulder, something like that. But for the most part, I'm not going to mistreat you. I'm not going to snap out at you. I don't, that's not me. I don't do that. Well, you should, I can't even see myself doing that. I've never been wired that way. Sometimes I wish I was, but I'm not. Thank God. So anyway, it took me 6 months because my birthday's in July and it was December. And I started setting, timers to remind myself to call. Oh, I'm going to call Friday. Oh, I'm going to call Saturday morning. And this went on for weeks. And then finally I said, you know what? I am not taking this into 2023. So that's, over a year ago. I said, I'm not going into the new year. Some kind of message came up. I'm not going into the new year with this. And so I called and then I explained why I was calling. And she said, I had no idea. And I said, I know you didn't. I had no idea. And she never apologized, but that's not why I called her. The enemy tried to use that. She didn't say she was sorry. That ain't the reason why I called. I wanted to get myself straight with the Lord first and her. And so all that was said and done. Do we still communicate? She called me one time. I was busy doing something. I answered and I said, I'm in the middle of something and I got to go. Didn't talk. So then she sent a message about something. I responded. She sent it to the wrong person. And then another time, I think for her birthday or something like that, I sent a message. But do we communicate like that? No. Because I'm like, if we didn't communicate for 8 years, I don't have to start now. That's just me. That doesn't mean that we're not buddy buddy. We could talk again. No, I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing all that. So anyway, I had to get that straight. So this is the longest video I've ever done. So let me get off of here. I apologize for taking up so much of your time, but I had to get this one out. I was up late last night thinking about this, and I said, but I ain't doing no video 11 o'clock at night. That ain't happening. So I hope you got something out of this. I'm working on my timing. I'm doing better. I'm going to be doing better. I know I keep telling y'all that, but I got stuff going on, but that's not an excuse. But my goal is, as long as I keep coming back, because this is what I'm doing in this season. This is where I am. So I got to keep coming back. I'm going to try to, when those 11 o'clock at night things come up, take some notes and get up the next morning and record it, even if I don't put it out right away. I'm going to find my system. So at the end of the day, y'all be blessed. And I'll see you again next time.